First grade, we are going to make a clay project called Pinch Pot. And you're going to turn your pinch pot into an animal. There are three basic ways you can make a pinch pot. One way is up like this shark. Another way is down like these animal faces. And another way is to the side like this beaver. You just simply are going to make a bowl of some sort and then attach parts to make it look like an animal. Now that you've seen several awesome ideas, I want you to show me with your hand which way is the bowl facing. Is this bowl up or down or sideways? Show me with your hand as soon as you see it. Up, up, sideways, up, up, down, sideways, up, down, sideways, down, up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways, up, down, up. First graders, to begin your pinch pot project, you need to decide what kind of shape do you want. Are you going to do a kitty cat, an animal like a dog or a giraffe or a tiger? Are you going to do a bird? Are you going to do an insect? And you need to decide on that. Then you're going to sketch your idea in your sketchbook. You can make your animal face out so that this is like their mouth. You can make it face up so that there's a bowl. Or you can make it face down so that the bowl is down here. To do that, you're going to draw your animal. You could draw your animal in one of three ways, and you have to make that choice. So let's say I was going to make my animal bowl be a giraffe. So I'm going to open up my sketchbook, and at the top of my paper, I'm going to write out the very best that I can, even if it's not spelled right. I'm going to write out that animal name. Then I can pick one of these three ways, just one of them, but there are three ideas. The first one is where the bowl faces up. The second one, so this would be an up bowl. Or you could draw your bowl facing down. Or you could draw your bowl facing sideways and laying on its side. Up, down, sideways. When you get to your sketchbook, you're going to draw one of these. The important thing to remember is that you have to draw this shape. And I'm going to bold it for you, make it in dark black so that you can see what that looks like, even when I add all my details. You're going to start with a shape like this. See how it's a U with a tiny oval, an upside down U with a tiny oval, a backward C with a big oval is sideways. Then, whichever way you choose, whether you want your bowl to go up or down or sideways, you're going to add the details like the animal you chose. So mine is a giraffe. I know giraffes have long necks, so if I'm just working on this up bowl, I'm going to make my giraffe's neck be tall and go above it. I know a giraffe has ears and spots. I also know a giraffe has a tail and 4 legs. 2, 3, 4. 4 legs. So that's my up bowl of a giraffe. And what will happen is inside of here, it will be a bowl that I can store things in. Or I could choose to make my bowl go upside down. And then I could add the details to it. Maybe I make my giraffe's neck go up like this. with the ear and the spots. And then I add legs on this like this. And maybe I make a tail hang off of it, such as that. Or I could make my bowl go sideways. And maybe sideways isn't a giraffe body at all. Maybe it's just a giraffe head. So I could draw maybe the tongue that's coming out of its mouth and put eyes on it on both sides and ears on it on both sides and maybe give it some spots. And that's my giraffe bowl. But you know what? I just thought of another idea. I could also make this sideways bowl be my giraffe body if I didn't want to do just a head. So here's another sideways bowl. I start with an oval, draw a sideways circle. Then I could make this look like a giraffe body. I'd add my head up here with the ear, the eye, and the mouth. I could add legs on the bottom and a tail here, and then spots. And then there will be a bowl going sideways. You could do your design any way. Lots of times a design like this works really well for a fish mouth or something. A design like this where the shell is down or the bowl is down would work well for a turtle. And an up bowl can work for lots of things. In fact, you could make a bowl facing up, a U shape with a tiny oval. Be an animal that's laying on its belly so that this is its belly, where let's say it's a baby otter. I've got the otter head and the otter ears, the otter tail, but then I make the arms going around it and the feet on it as well. And I have a baby otter. You're going to go back to your table and do something just like this. Once you have your drawing finished, whether it be an up bowl, a down bowl, or a sideways bowl, you're going to begin making it. But we're not ready to add the details yet. First, we're just going to make the bowl. So I'm going to give you a bit of clay. With this clay, I need you to push it into a ball. So all that you do is you take it and use your finger muscles. It might be a little bit hard because we've got first grade fingers. You're just going to take it and squish it in between your hands and pinch it with your fingers and your palm to make a ball. You can slap it a little bit. You can spread your finger across it to smooth it out. And you're just going to make a ball. Sometimes if you smash it into the palm of your other hand, it turns into a ball pretty fast. And it doesn't have to be a perfect ball. See how my ball has lots of bumps and things like this? But it just needs to be a general ball shape. Then once I have that general ball, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making my pinch pot. And to do your pinch pot, you're going to take your thumb. You're going to hold the ball in your hand that you don't write with. This is called your non-dominant hand. And with your dominant hand, the hand that you typically write with on a piece of paper, you're going to stick out your thumb like a thumbs up sign. And then you're going to gently push your thumb into the ball of clay. You have to use all your muscles to get that thumb down to the very bottom. You want your thumb to get so close to the bottom that it almost feels like it's going to pop out. And you might say, but Miss Mathias, when I do this, I can't feel where my thumb is. But if you put your other hand on the bottom, and you kind of close your eyes, somehow our brains know where your thumb is. And I can just about tell you that my thumb is about this deep into the ball, which is about right. So now that my thumb's in it and my other hand is supporting it, I'm going to start pinching my pot, my ball of clay. What that means is I'm going to make my hand into an alligator mouth. So with my alligator mouth, this part is going to be the bottom of my alligator mouth, my thumb, and these fingers up here are going to be the top of my alligator mouth. I want to put my fingers together wrap them around the side of the ball gently and slowly. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, with these fingers right here, I'm going to pinch my clay. Then I'm going to rotate it and pinch it. Rotate and pinch. And what I'm doing is I started at the bottom and my fingers wrapped all the way to the bottom, and I'm just gently pinching it. Really, I'm not using hardly any muscle at all, and I'm using a flat hand. These fingers right here stay nice and flat. Then, as I'm pinching around, what I'm really doing is I'm grabbing the clay a little and pulling it up just a little. Pinch and pull up. Pinch and pull up. And I rotate it around. Little tiny pinches and pull up. If your bowl starts to get too big and bigger than you want, you can just take it in your two hands, set it down on the table and take your two hands, and you're going to give it a firm press inward and rotate, inward and rotate. Your thumb needs to stay on the inside at all times when you're pinching it around, because if I put my thumb on the outside, it's uneven pressure, and I need to pinch it at the same strength with the same muscles all the way around. All right, it looks like it's getting wide, so I'm going to push it together. Go back, my thumb's on the inside, and pinch it around. What I'm doing now is I'm feeling with my fingers around the different edges to feel how thick it is. I don't have to have my eyes open to feel how thick it is because it's not something I can see. Just taking my fingers, and if I feel this part that's too thick, I'm gently pushing it and pulling it upwards. All right. You don't want the walls of your bowl to get too thin. They should stay about the thickness of your finger. If it gets too thin, what you need to do is take some clay and add it to that wall so it doesn't get too thin. Now that I've got my general pinch pot shape, I need to flatten out these edges here because I don't want them to be all bumpy like they are. So I'm going to take it, turn it upside down, and gently tap it. And that gave me a flat edge. It also gave me some of these weird bumps. So I can take my finger and smooth out those bumps. What I'm doing is I'm pushing those bumps down into the inside of my clay pot. Then I'm going to take my finger on the outside and smooth out the outside as well. Now I have my general clay pot made. It's not very smooth, and that's okay because it's our first time working with clay. Now that I've got my general bowl made, a pinch pot, it's time to add my details. So I'm going to get out my sketchbook and look at the sketch I wanted to go with. I'm going to make my giraffe body facing up. And I also need a little bit of extra clay. So with this extra clay, I'm ready to make my pieces. I'm going to set my pinch pot to the side because I don't need it yet. And I'm just going to build the pieces. I see that I've got a head sticking off, 1, 2, 3, 4 legs, and a tail. So those are the things I need to build. For the head, it looks like it's like a rope. It looks like it's a thin piece of clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of clay that just kind of fits perfectly in my hand. I'm going to give it a little bit of a roll in between my hands. I don't want it to get too thin. It needs to be as thick as my thumb or thicker. See, when I put my thumb on it, some of it sticks out from the edges. That means that it's thicker. Then I'm going to take this and I can just bend it, pinch it to make it look like what I want it to look like. 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. And my giraffe legs are just going to be little tiny things. So I'm going to do the same thing. Take a tiny bit of clay, roll it in between my fingers. Now I want it to be flat on the table because it's going to go on the bottom of my bowl, just like it's here. So I'm going to take this little tiny little roll of clay. I'm going to tap it on my mat so that it has flat edges so that it will lay on the table flat. It's like a little Tootsie Pop. I want my legs to be the same height, so I'm comparing this to each other so that they're the same size. Last thing I need to make is the tail. So my tail is probably not going to be as thick as my legs, but it's still kind of a rolled piece of clay. So I'm going to take a piece of clay, roll it just a little bit thinner than my legs, and decide, is this how long I want my tail to be? And if not, I can just break that piece off and decide that this is how long my tail is going to be. I know a giraffe tail kind of has some fur on it, so I'm giving a rounded piece on the back side, the bottom side, that will look like some fur. Now that I've got my 3 pieces, it's time to attach. Now there are 4 words we have to remember to attach these to my clay pot. Score, slip, stick, and smooth. So with some sort of tool, scoring means to scratch it. The part that's going to connect, I'm going to scratch the clay. That just means to put little marks in it. I'm also going to scratch the part where I'm going to connect it. So before I decide where I'm going to scratch, am I going to put it here? Am I going to put it on the side? I think I'm going to stick it here. So I need to scratch the clay here. So that's scoring. That's a little bit like Velcro. You know how Velcro, it has scratches and then it together and it's stuck? Well, that's what that means. Now slipping is like glue. And all you're going to do is take a little bit of water and rub that water over those little scratch marks you made. Score, slip, stick. Oh, that's pretty simple. I'm going to stick them together. And this is pushing the glue together is pretty much what it's doing. Anytime that you're sticking something together, you want to put your hand inside of the pot to push it together. And I want to push it together with a pretty good amount of muscles, but not so much that it ruins the pot. Score, slip, stick, and smooth. Now, smoothing means to make it look like they were never 2 separate pieces, but in fact, they were always one piece. So you can see how right here, there's kind of a line that makes it look like that's called a seam, where this part of the clay is attached to this part of the clay, and I don't want to see that anymore. So with a tool or with my finger, I'm going to just kind of pull the clay so that that seam disappears. I need to do that all the way around, even on the top. Now that I've got my basic things onto my pinch pot, it's time to draw in some of those details. Like I don't have eyes or a mouth or the spots. So with some sort of tool, this tool works really awesome because it's kind of got a point just like a pencil. I'm just going to draw in some of those details. Now my Pinch Pot giraffe is done. I've got all the important details. And now I'm going to give it, your job is to give it to me. When you give it to me, I'm going to write your name on the bottom.